This video, I am going to cover the testing of the RTX 3070 machine G15 versus M2 Macbook Air and comparing how the devices compare from an editing, scrubbing perspective and overall just video content creation perspective. So part of the experience is explaining the type of footage I'm going to be editing. So in this case, it was a 4K footage recorded in OBS with 3 screens. This is the files that I was using for testing all of this M2 MacBook Air gaming content. And so that MP4 that was translated is what is going to be used as editing content on DaVinci Resolve. And then later you can make separate timelines and set it up so that it could be set up as a multicam. So let's zoom in on this content and see this is straight from A6000, which is also recorded on a different device. So none of this is impacted by my testing methodology. You can see here on the G15, you get some stutters with this 4K footage, at least from my perspective as using it as a multicam. The Zephyrus G15 doesn't always have issues doing a multicam, but through my workflow, until I find a different way to do this, setting up multicam with multiple scenes as the 4K footage seems to impact the device. I suppose if you were trying to get this done an alternative way, you could have 3 separate 1080p videos, but for now, I just choose to record a 4K file with 3 1080p scenes. Now, just talking about like the scrub through and stuff of that nature, I mean, the G15 can handle it, but if we move over and pivot to the same exact setting, same exact project on the M2 MacBook Air, you can see how the video encoding and the decoding is just miles ahead of what the NVIDIA RTX 3070 could do. Even though it has the same multicam and things of that nature, you could get better scrubbing, in my opinion, from the video you're seeing on screen. This has just been not just what I hopefully am showcasing, but just, word of mouth, quote unquote, my experience. I've always found that Resolve and the M1, M2 MacBook Airs are a better video editing experience in terms of not having too much lag and not having too much issues. Though I do find that if I was trying to do this in Final Cut, I prefer Resolve because it handles multiple audio tracks better than Final Cut. The last impressions I will leave you with is that from this zoomed out perspective, there is also some ideas when I edit when you click on the actual timeline versus clicking on the timeline on the M2 MacBook Air. When you record from the MacBook Air or edit on the MacBook Air, as I said earlier in my previous snippet, it just seems to load faster of the device, which could be an SSD issue. I know there was the 256 gigabyte issue, and so I got the 512 version. But this could be something for video editors to consider wanting that fast read and write speed, is that when you utilize this fast read and write, at least on the M2 MacBook Air, it seems to load faster, which you could compare to the G15 as I was showcasing, and noticeably some lag, kind of as you see there. It takes a bit to load the same MP4 file. So that being said, for those whose primary focus is to do video editing, I could recommend the M2 MacBook Air and make sure you bump up from the 256 so that you don't have slow SSD read-write times. That's what this video is showcasing, and even compared to an RTX Windows machine, it seems to load faster. So overall, my opinion is that you'll get a better video editing experience using a M2 or M1 machine.